Well, hello, everybody, and hi. I'm here today to share some inquiry about money. Fabulous people have been doing the work on money with me every year when I do a money course, and I usually change it up, but it's always going to be different anyway because everyone's going to have their own unique process around money. And then there's some things that are going to be generally the same. So, right now, the money course happens to be underway at the recording of this video, and hello to you all. Um, we're talking about lack and poverty and not having. And you can even say the state of debt, although we haven't specifically looked closely at debt, but we certainly feel incredibly lacking when we do have debt. And we all know debt is a very common and deep and frustrating problem. But I wanted to share some little story with you on a way you can approach debt or lack of money with this work of Byron Katie. So, years ago, I had a plunge in my income. I mean, it was horrifying. I was just on my way to getting divorced. I had not worked full time in a decade. I had always worked part time, often at contract jobs where I didn't have health insurance or anything like that, but I just had an hour, like 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week. I always had little jobs like that. Some of them were really interesting, editing for Microsoft, doing some part time bookkeeping, but I mostly was a stay at home mom. So it was a shocker for me to need to enter the workforce and find that it was troubling. Plus, it was 2007. And if you all remember, it seemed like everyone was having a hissy fit about the economy. So it was kind of out there like the word about the economy is that this thing's going down. There are no jobs. Everybody's unemployed. So that was out there in the atmosphere. And I was going to job interviews. I went to 20, not 18, not 14, not 6, but 20, and kept getting rejected, or in a few situations was one of the finalists and got called back for an additional interview, and I finally did get hired. But I felt like I couldn't believe how many. Now, I know some people might have stories where they went to 100 or whatever, but it just seemed like it was incredible how often, and that was only the jobs that I got called in for an interview, the interviews that I went to. I applied to hundreds of jobs. I asked people about it. I really learned a lot actually about job hunting at the time. But it looked like I was going to have to actually start a foreclosure process on my house. I was incredibly in debt. My kids were eligible for food stamps. They were on low income lunch at school. So they were luckily getting like a low income breakfast and a low income lunch, which I felt like a pride in and discouragement about that. That's where I've gotten to. That's where I've come to. And now I had also borrowed from family at one point, borrowed from my credit cards, had a debt, and had been using my credit card to buy gas and living very frugally, but you still have to spend, buying food. So I had, as I tell the story, about $10.16 left in my bank account, literally, and a $2,000 mortgage due, in 2 weeks, whatever it was at the time, January 2009, when that was happening. And I really, really deeply and sincerely did the work because I was taking all the action that I could possibly take and doing the work. And I knew they both needed to go hand in hand because I felt terrified and discouraged and so upset. What I want to tell you is in a little bit later in that time of being in such debt, hitting rock bottom with debt for myself, or who knows what rock bottom is, but a huge debt. Somebody shared with me a way that many of you have probably heard about, that you repay debt, which is that you line up each thing that you owe money to. So one credit card, and you make a column in spreadsheets. And I love Excel spreadsheets. Love Excel. I love spreadsheets. So you don't have to love spreadsheets though to still do this. You can write out a column, and you have, like your MasterCard, and you name which one it is and maybe put the number on there. what the monthly payment is and what your grand total is that you owe. And you make a different column for each item that you owe money on, each debt that you have. And then you start on and you order them from the largest to the smallest, the one that you have the greatest debt owed to, down to the one that you have the smallest debt owed to on the right. And then you begin to pay off only the one on the right. You make the minimum payments to everything that you need to make, and you see if you can double the one on the right. At that time, I heard about this game for repaying your debt, and I calculated and figured out I am going to take 20 years making those payments. I will pay it off, but it will take 20 years based on the income that I have right now and where I'm at, 20. And so my heaviness on my shoulders of lack and forever working and having to work hard and having it take arduously long time and being like just hell how long it would take was huge. Thank goodness I sat and I did the work on that thought. This is for sure going to take 20 years. This is going to be horrible if it does take 20 years. I will be working forever, and for little results, few results. It won't be that exciting. Is that true? Is that true that I know that's the way it will be? I couldn't answer yes. But even if you answer yes, you get to say, can I absolutely know with no shadow of a doubt that that is the truth with a capital T, that it's going to take 20 years and that the way I think it's going to go is the way it's going to go, and it's going to be arduous, going to huge burden and a task and take forever. No, I can't know that that's absolutely true. I've heard of other ways things go. How do I react when I believe this is so horrible, this debt? It's going to take forever. This lack is going to be living with me indefinitely. Well, of course, I feel horrible. I'm angry at the debt. I'm angry at the money. I don't like the columns. This isn't fun at all. I feel angry at myself for getting myself into this. I should have seen it coming. I should have gotten a medical degree a long time ago. Probably those of you who have a medical degree and are doctors think that's not gonna help. So who would I be without that story? That dreadful, terrible story that this is going to be hard, it's going to take 20 years, it's going to take too long, and I'm just going to experience lack forever. Who would I be without that story? Who would I be if I couldn't think that at all? Well, I'd be just looking at numbers on a piece of paper. I would notice that I had begun working again. I now have a paycheck. I now have health insurance. Pretty soon after that, my kids are no longer on reduced lunch at school. We can buy regular lunch. I notice, it's just the process that I'm going through. I actually can double that smallest payment on the one credit card that has the lowest amount of balance owed. Wow, I'm going to start doubling that minimum payment and keep on minimum payments for everything else. I don't know what happened. I really don't. I was so shocked at how fast it went. The entire amount of money, I think I owed over $80,000 in various debts. I paid off all of it in 4 years. 4 years. I just it was like 2 years into it, I kind of looked and went, what's happening? Because I would just have fun doubling that payment, and then the first column was gone. And then I went to the second column, and it started to be fun. Who would I be without my story? I'd be playing a game in life with numbers, and I'd be doing something in integrity. So the turnaround, this is not going to take a long time. This is not impossible. This is not dreadful. I'm not going to be working myself to the bone for years and years. I won't forever feel lack. That could be just as true in the moment, right now, that I have resources. I have the ability to write a check, or set up an online payment to make a little minimum payment. I remember long ago somebody saying if you only pay $10 a month extra, if that's all, if you can't double the payment of the thing that you owe a large balance on, just pay a little bit more. Who would you be without your story? It might be amazing what can happen. I just really get sort of stunned about the whole thing and how it went away and how much I was just as I and it when nothing dramatic happened. I didn't win the lottery. I didn't have somebody give me some huge gigantic chunk where I could pay off everything, one day. It slowly but surely, and I just got so excited that I'd almost not spend on anything else and just throw everything at the debt. It was super fun, amazing. Now I still have one column left because I put my mortgage in the very first column. But I now feel like in my lifetime, I can actually pay off my own house, which wasn't the traditional idea, it seems, for many years. It seems like it's been like, you can just continuously have a mortgage forever. But I love the idea of leaving a paid off house to my children. And I feel like I know that will happen. So I try to add something all the time when I can every month. And that might be reducing faster than I ever thought possible. I don't know. But the main thing is in this moment now to have the experience of what it's like to not believe your story of lack and debt and fear and panic. And that's what we're practicing. That's what we're practicing. Who would you be without your story? You might think of all kinds of new things or new ways to be with the money that you do have and new ways to pay down the debt that you've got. You just never know. All right. I hope that helps everybody. Oh, let's say one more turnaround. So the turnaround, the story is not true. I will not be working forever. My thinking is filled with lack. My thoughts are the ones showing me pictures of my future with me still working after 20 years to pay this debt off. It's my thoughts that are filled with scarcity and working to the bone. They are working so hard. My thinking is doing that in the moment. I am the same person right now that I ever was when I had all those thousands of dollars of debt. I'm the same human being. I do feel much more wonderful about not having debt. So the feelings within are good, but how I got there is through doing the work when I had the debt. And so I just encourage everybody to sit with noticing who you are without your fearful stories of lack and having to work forever, and noticing that it's just your thoughts. It's just a thought. If you looked into a basket that was full of all your thoughts about money and debt and hardship and scarcity, you would be looking into a bunch of air, right? It's just a thought. You just keep underway with your activities, keep on doing the work, and just walk around what it's like, feeling what it's like to be without the possibility of emergencies and fear and debt and lack around money. All right, let me know how it goes. Bye, everyone.